Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to another race in the Apex Online Racing GT3 League on Project Cars 2. We are in Season 12, as we had the season opener last week, which means this is round 2 of 10 for this season. We are going to be at Monza today, a very different circuit from Brands Hatch, which we were on last week. This is all about long straights, slipstream and high top speed. And of course, good braking as well. My name is Fisi, and I'm going to be joined in the commentary box once again by the man, the myth, the legend himself. It is Yorkie065.
Hello guys, welcome to the stream and thank you very much for having me back in the com box once again. As always, seem to be building a little bit of a residency here, it seems. But yeah, as Fizzy says, we've got Monza here for you. It'll be an interesting one. As well as the straights and the slipstream and the passing and the good braking that everybody needs, they also need good traction because it's going to be a wet starting race. We do believe the conditions are meant to clear up a little bit later into the race, but for the start of the race, certainly, it will be wet weather conditions.
Oh yes, that's going to be incredible indeed. Yeah, that is what the weather reports are saying, that it is indeed going to be starting with some rainy weather, which yeah, always spices things up, of course. And the qualifying, though, I believe is going to be set in foggy conditions, so whatever conditions you choose today, it's going to be hard for the drivers to see out of their windows. So that's going to be a big challenge, and of course maybe it remains to be seen how different the order in the field will be at this sort of track compared to Brands Hatch. Two so different circuits. We had, of course, in round 1, the operator winning the race in his debut as well in this league. Took home the pole and the win, which means he's leading the championship with 51 points going into round 2. Empower took P2, so he's sitting there on 44 points. Suomi was the final man on the podium in round 1. Of course, Jardier, we all know, the reigning triple champion. He was one of the guys who were very unlucky and got disconnected from the first round, which means he has a lot of catching up to do already after just one round. So we will have to keep an eye on him as well to see if he can get back up to his usual ways here today, Yorkie.
Yes, indeed. And we are going to be momentarily jumping into our qualifying session. We are just loading into the actual race now, which is very exciting. Hopefully all the drivers who are meant to be here today are going to be present. So I didn't actually run through and double check. I didn't actually look myself, so yeah. Hopefully we've got the full grid of 32 cars.
I'm sure there's going to be a few. There's a few no-shows, I think, which are, you know, for personal reasons and whatnot, which you always expect. But let's see then, as we jump into the session, and it is indeed very foggy indeed out on track here at Monza. We have 22 cars, so there's quite a few cars missing actually. But hopefully those are the 22 that were meant to be here, that don't have something else to do on this Wednesday evening. So you can see a stream of cars already leaving the pit lane. They got 10 minutes to try and get the best possible lap time, and Jesus Christ, you cannot see a single thing going down the pit straight. There's some headlights, and then there's some marbles.
Very foggy.
And there's a kind of a red car somewhere in there.
Yep, that red car will be Villalobos. Currently watching him at the moment. Let's jump onto his roof cam. So this is what the drivers are going to be able to see. Certainly seems to be better conditions than what we can see when we are in the trackside cameras, but obviously the guys just coming out onto their outlap at the moment. Just kind of get a little bit of a sighter in for the track conditions. Obviously Villalobos has got a couple of cars there up in front of him. Who else have we got? 2 Desert Pack, driving his Audi R8 once again, flying around through turn 3 and coming up towards that second chicane, Fizzy.
Indeed. Be interested to see how the Audi fares here, really, because from what I'm hearing, it is not the most favourable track for the Audi. You'd expect a track with, you know, long straights to maybe suit the Mercedes cars. Certainly, there's a couple of guys now this season driving the SLS, and we know from previous seasons that the SLS does tend to have good straight line speed. Of course, it will depend as well on the setup that drivers have chosen, but usually that will be the case with the SLS. And Lamborghini guys also driving at the home track for their car, so maybe that'll give them a little extra advantage.
Yep, that could be a possibility, though. Lamborghini is also a pretty good car. Seems like the Audi R8 struggles a little bit. It's not quite as quick as some of the other cars. I remember from my own personal experience that the BMW M6, of which there is maybe 1 or 2 this season, they are pretty quick in a straight line. You see CJB coming through the...
I'm not sure there's any BMWs this season, actually. I can't remember seeing any.
You might be right. I'm pretty sure there was one. Just having to flick through all the names now. We'll probably start to see some times popping up on the board relatively soon. There's a McLaren there.
Yeah,
Not too sure how
which was also a bit unusual on this game, I would say.
Yes. There's a second McLaren. But it does mostly seem like Mercedes cars and Audis. The odd Lamborghini. Here we go, starting to see some times popping up on the board now. Jardier seeming to be 8 seconds off the pace, so he must have had an issue somewhere on his first flying lap, but the guys still have 6.5 minutes remaining in this session.
Yeah, plenty of time for the guys to put a lap on the board. Of course, only 3 laps so far, and only one of them really you'd feel is kind of representative, although aren't the lap times supposed to be way faster than even a 51?
Yes, I remember 44s, 45s being discussed.
Yeah,
I
so
believe.
I don't think either of those 3 times are particularly representative of what we're going to see later in the session, unless the fog is just causing so much trouble that the drivers just can't see where they're going, and they're just... there we go. Yeah, Operator, the winner from the first race of the season, has popped himself up into provisional pole briefly, anyway, with a 44.6, and then Dalking goes and smashes that by 1/10 of a second with a 44.5. So there we go then. That's the benchmark early on in the first half of the session. Dalking, the man who was, of course, challenging for the win at the start of the race anyway last week, and then he had a few little mistakes, ended up in 4th place in the end. So he's certainly going to be keen to bounce back a little bit, you would think.
Yep. Little Lobos got himself in 3rd at the moment. See that Chase is asking if the Ferrari is still banned. It is not. It is allowed this season. However, none of the drivers have picked it, interestingly.
Yeah, very interestingly.
The majority of them are in the Lamborghini, like last season. There's quite a few Mercedes AMGs this season as well. Seems like there's quite a lot of AMGs in this race.
Yeah.
Possibly more. Has any drivers actually switched their cars?
I don't believe so yet. Not that I'm 100% sure on that, of course. You have to drop all the points you've scored in the season and open the tap point if you do switch your car mid-season. So maybe one of the guys that didn't score points last week might have had a switch, but we will have to wait and see. But yeah, it's certainly interesting that there's no Ferraris on the grid, even though it was unbanned for this season, because of course it was banned because people thought that it was a bit overpowered. And, you know, the clearly best all-round car. And quite often the drivers pick cars based on the race calendar, you know, picks a car that will be one of the best cars at the majority of the tracks of the season. But yeah, with the Ferrari having been seen as a good all-rounder, it's certainly very surprising that there's none of them on the grid.
Yep. Just appearing out of a fog seems to be the fan favourite, Jarmo. Coming through the final turn. He's currently holding a provisional P13, so he will be looking to improve his lap time and keep his fans happier. He comes across the line round about now, and he doesn't seem to improve his lap time there on that one. But yeah, it's It's interesting to see the choice of cars that the drivers tend to pick. It's interesting to see that the Lamborghini is a bit of a favourite at the moment within the leagues. It kind of does chop and change a little bit as you go from season to season, and the faster drivers pick new cars, and suddenly that car becomes very quick. But yeah,
maybe it's actually the driver after all. Who would have thought?
Yes, that's what we'd like to think.
Yeah, no, that's what it should be really in a league like this, where of course there are different cars, but they're all relatively equal. So the driver skill will be the most important quality at the end of the day. But yeah, don't anyone dare ban the Lamborghini, because I'm gonna rage quit. Anyway, still watching Dalking then, who is holding provisional pole, and he's extended the gap since we saw his time previously to 144.1 now, which is 0.4 of a second faster than Operator, his teammate. Jardier is sitting third at the moment. Villalobos, as we say that, pops himself up to third, almost ahead of Operator as well, and yeah, then goes to park his car. Villalobos, of course, also looking to bounce back after he was forced to sit out the race last week after qualifying in third, but then having to quit out of the race because of severe lag issues. So far, I haven't seen any bouncing from his car, so hopefully that's a good sign for him to have a normal race this week, as Operator is now charging down into the first quarter with an Audi not too far ahead of him.
Yeah, hopefully the Audi won't be too much of a factor on this lap. Will be interesting to see if the Audi ahead is actually on a hot lap or not. It does have its lights on, which would usually, in clear conditions, indicate that the car is on a hot lap. But obviously, with these reduced visibility conditions, with the amount of fog that we have, he may just have his lights on, just so other cars can see him. That's a little bit easier off in the distance.
Are you saying that the headlights turn on when you drive fast?
No, I'm saying that the drivers turn the headlights on when they drive fast.
No wonder I never had headlights.
Yes. But, yeah, Operator at the moment holding P2. It's only 0.02 of a second to Villalobos behind, but it seems like Villalobos will not be participating in this session any further, so the best that he's going to get is P3. There's no penalties on the board at the moment. We've actually got 23 drivers. We've had one extra driver join us.
Oh, look at this! This is going to help Operator massively.
Yeah, a little bit of slipstream there as he comes down to the final turn. Chucking the car in. The Audi doing the right thing and not holding Operator up there, but he's going to get another chance at setting another lap, because they're going to come across the line now with 20 odd seconds remaining, so they both have that one more opportunity, and Operator goes into pole by 0.05 of a second.
That could well have been that little slipstream down the penultimate straight that gave him that little advantage that he managed to get over Dalking there. Operator could be looking at a second consecutive pole position for this season. All the other guys in the top 4 are already back in the pit lane, and we're not improved their time. So Dalking, Villalobos, and Dab. God, I'm such. Always, I can never remember his name. Dabersky, yeah, wow, good lap from him as well. But he's not going to improve on the 144.7. Jardier now, currently sitting P5. Can he improve and pop himself up potentially on the front row or even on pole position? Here we go across the line, and he actually drops a position as he goes across the line. Yeah, Empower has gone up to P4 just ahead of him.
Yeah, he has. Godfather of Shift is somewhere in and amongst all the fog in his Porsche 911. That's a pretty solid effort to get up into 8th position. Benazili seems to be confirming himself in 9th. Kovacs David, he's still on a hot lap, so he'll be one to keep an eye out for. Someone else has just gone up in front of him. Murph got himself up into 7th place now in his Mercedes SLS.
Indeed, let's see anyone else out on track. We got Nesterovic, we got Pantera in 13th at the moment. He's coming around the Scari, and just got one bit of flat out section to go, and of course the famous Parabolica Yamo as well is on a hot lap. Coming round the final corner now is Kovacs David. Let's see what he can do. Currently sitting in 10th position. Charging that Mercedes down towards the line. What will it be for him? It goes up one position, up to P9. This possessor Benazili down to P10 then. Pantera stays in... No, actually, no. Yeah, there we go. I think Pantera did stay in 13th place.
Yep.
So here is the grid then for round 2 of season 12. We have Operator on pole once again. Another bonus point for him. Then ahead of his teammate again, Dalking, just like a Brands Hatch. And Villalobos in 3rd, just like a Brands Hatch. Then Empower in 4th, Dubirsky, reigning champion Jardier in 6th. Then Murph, Godfather of Shift, Kovacs David, and Benisili in the top 10. CJB, Nesterovic, Pantera, Ripper, Dakuza, Yarmo, Cryptic, Capo, Bo, Adalexis, and then I didn't quite catch the bottom 2, but let's see them now. That would be the Ace, Tudesapak, and JK actually. Let's make that at bottom 3. We've got 23 cars now. So instead of losing a car in the qualifying session, as sometimes happens, we have actually gained a car, which is good to see.
Yep, that's very nice. Obviously, the more cars that we have on the grid, the more commentary and action we can provide for you guys, providing that obviously there's not multiple battles going on at track at the same time, because that makes things a little bit more difficult for us and we can only watch one battle time as well.
Yeah, the drivers really need to plan this between themselves and just, you know, plan it out. Yeah. So there's only one battle going on at a time. Thank you very much.
Schedule in a couple of laps with each other, and then send us a schedule over our way, and we can work with it and go forth. So this is a view from the back of the grid with JK. Currently, at the moment, the rain is falling.
Oh, the rain is falling massively.
Yeah, the track is getting wetter and wetter by the second. But yeah, his view isn't too bad at the moment. It's once he starts moving and there's spray being flicked up into the air, that will probably see his visibility reduced quite drastically.
Despite that windscreen wiper going at 200 miles an hour and making a lot of sound.
Yep.
But at least that means it's working, which is good. Quick hello to everyone in the chat as well who have joined us for this race. Good to see you all here. It is indeed Fisi in the commentary box. Yes, Emil, thank you for noticing. And of course a lot of Yamo fans again, which we got accustomed to in Brands Hatch. I saw one shout for Cryptic as well. But let's see then, as the lights go out, and it seems like all the drivers have remembered that he should stay still, which is good. As we embark now on the manual rolling start, the formation lap, with pole man operator leading the field away for a relatively slow lap, and just hopefully the cars will not spin out as they try to get heat in their tires in these treacherous conditions.
Yep, obviously the guys need to be careful as the track will be getting wetter and wetter. There'll be more standing water starting to form in the lower parts of the circuit as the rain continues to fall. It might be a good idea actually to, if we go to the roof of Operator, we can see where the puddles are. So there's a little bit of puddles there on the inside of turn 3. It's pooling right around the curve, so the drivers will need to watch out for that. Seems pretty good down this straight, and I imagine this second chicane should be relatively decent as well. Interesting that Operator isn't weaving to maintain any heat in his tyres. Maybe he's just quite happy letting the temperatures drop in the wet tyres, which is kind of a natural thing in these conditions anyway. There's some water pooling on the inside there of the first of the 2 Lesmos, and I imagine there'll be some on the inside of the second Lesmo as well. Not yet, it didn't seem. There will be some down at the bottom of this dip underneath the bridge here. There'll probably be some water starting to form and pool down there. And yes, you can see it there in the distance, just about to become much, much clearer as we actually come underneath the bridge. You can see the water there, which will increase in size, and the guys will have to watch out for aquaplaning as they go down through that dip.
Definitely, that's going to cause some interesting challenges for these drivers, looking out for the puddles, and this part of the track though relatively flat, so no trouble here, and still Operator has not weaved a single time to try and get heat into his tires. I mean, maybe Operator doesn't need heat in his tires. He's just a machine that can drive on any sort of temperatures and tires. As they now form into the 2x2 formation, getting ready for the start of the race. Not long to go now. We got 33 laps of action. Well, I guess 32 laps of racing action ahead of us. Here at Monza, and there's a car on the grass.
There is a
sure
car
what has happened there. Maybe
they should be alright.
Yeah.
Rejoin, I think, as long as they're careful.
Hopefully there was no contact there. Seems like he's back on track now. Lovely mix of colours coming around the final corner here. Beautiful field of GT3 cars as we get ready for the start of this race. Operator, it's down to him now to decide when to go. And here we go. Race is underway for round 2 of season 12 at Monza in the treacherous wet conditions, and there are already some jostling for position throughout the field, especially in midfield. Pantera looking for the inside line on the Lamborghini ahead of him, but they couldn't quite find it. Had that blocked off for him. Empower tried to be careful down into the first corner. It looks like the top two have stayed the same positions as they started. There's several cars side by side towards the back of the field. Just got to be careful to avoid contact through here. Very, very tight this first chicane. It's a little bit of touching, but hopefully not too serious. And if there was any touching, at least it was at slow speed. So it looks like no major problems here at the start of the race. But now we come charging at full speed once again into the second chicane. Another tricky place to be battling. The front of the field still in the same position. They're side by side between Kovacs David. Ooh, and he's dropped a few positions after starting 10th, and he's forced the other Mercedes slightly off the track. Actually, that was Kovacs David being forced slightly off the track. Didn't quite see who that was by. But he's now going to be very much out of position into the Lesmos, and he's gone wide onto the grass as well. Make sure not to spit it back onto the track, but he's dropped all the way to the back of the field. There we go, the final car goes through as well. Not a good first lap for Kovacs David there. Back up to the front, Empower holding position, and yeah, it looks like all of the top 4 have stayed in the same position they started. Jardier, however, in P5 have gained a position on Dubirsky.
Yep, and oh no, there goes Godfather's shift running out a little bit wide. Coming through the Ascari chicane, manages to climb back onto the circuit though without impeding others too much. Here comes his teammate sliding past him as well. These are the kind of conditions that the drivers are dealing with as we're going almost 3 wide between Pantera, CJB, and I believe that'll be Benazili in the Merc in front. Godfather shift and a look down the inside of the Lamborghini. He's got 2 cars on his outside though, who'll need to be careful of those to avoid making contact. There's a slight little brush there as they come off the exit of the final turn. It's going to be a pure straight drag race at the moment. Pantera is in the pound seat, is going to have the slipstream of the guy in front as the S12.
Oh my god.
Trying to cash in as well. The Kuza, this could be dangerous. Hopefully the guys are going to be patient. Oh no, there goes the Lamborghini, goes way too deep. Straight in, I believe that's Murph, who's gone straight on across and straight into the front of, didn't quite catch who that was in the SLS.
Nesterovic has gone off across the corner there.
Oh dear. Oh, it's Nesterovic, yes, sorry. I believe it may have been Murph that he may have had contact with then. Yes, it was. Murph was the guy who accidentally tapped him on the exit as, Nesterovic was going flying across that first chicane, obviously just missing out on his braking point with all the spray and obviously misjudging the conditions. Very unfortunate there for him.
Yeah, I can't believe we were going 3 wide into the first corner there, and actually it was neither of those 3 cars that caused any issues. It was actually one of the cars behind that missed its braking point. Just couldn't see the braking balls, I would assume, in all this spray, especially when there's 3 cars ahead of you. That's not exactly easy to see the braking point that you've gotten familiar with in the dry conditions from qualifying. As we now though got Godfather shift in the Porsche, watching from his bumper at the moment, looking to the inside of Benazili into Ascari. But nothing doing for him there. Has to back out of that one. And ooh, was that a car off the track as well? Going backwards.
There's 2 cars off.
Is that Ripper and is that Godfather shift? It's the Porsche.
No, I believe it's
the other Porsche.
Pantera.
Yeah, it's Pantera in the other Porsche who's gone off. There's been a huge collision there. Doesn't look to damage the car, but he certainly lost a lot of time. Both of them would have. That is 19th and 20th place for them now. Oh, look at this now! Battle for the lead! Operator under all sorts of pressure from Dalking. The teammates, will Dalking actually go for the move here? Yes, he will. Looking to the inside into the first corner. Who will brake latest? It looks like Operator just setting slightly in front of his teammate, but then backs out of it. Dalking on the apex. Oh, trying to leave space for Operator, and there we go. What a move to take the lead of the race by Dalking. And it's the first time all season that Operator is not in the lead of the race. Dalking now is in the driving seat.
Yep, Dalkin was looking very squirrely under braking, but managed to get the car slowed down when they got to the apex. It looks like Operator is trying to come back at Dalkin though around the outside. It's not going to quite work there, as Dalkin is the Operator on Dalkin. Dalkin there defending his line. It also seems like Empower in the background is trying to go at Villalobos. In front of him has got Jardier for company in P5, not too far behind. So seems like this top 5 has broken away on the pack a little bit. The Bursky is the green Lamborghini that we see here in the background, but there's quite a big gap, about 5 seconds in fact, between the Bursky and CJB behind, and then there's a whole bunch of cars here with Benazili, Godfather of Shift, I believe Dakuza there in his SLS as well. They come flying underneath the bridge through that puddle. Doesn't seem like any of the cars are aquaplaning, but I think that looks like Godfather of Shift, and a little bit of a look down the inside of the Bursky, not going to quite make it work there. But I think on the previous time round, when we saw the incident between the Ripper and Pantera, I think the Ripper just lost it on the brakes a little bit. Oh, we've got 2 Desert Pack very far wide on the exit of the Ascari chicane. He seems to have managed to recover back to the track, but he's got JK for company on his outside, and it looks like that Pantera is also trying to come back as well, working his way back up through the wheel. Pantera having a look down the inside of 2 Desert Pack. Both of them avoiding contact at the moment. Seems like there's a bit of damage to the back of Pantera's Porsche, but he's continuing on and pressing on with it at the moment. It's 2 Desert Pack. He's trying to pick up the slipstream, trying to almost force a 3-wide situation, but it's not quite working at the moment. JK is there somewhere alongside them as they come into turn 1 now.
There we go. Will everyone spot the braking point? It looks like they have done. It's side by side to Desert Pack. Oh my goodness, that is JK trying to squeeze through, and he's done it. Yeah, door banging going through the first corner, but all clean. And there we go, moved on for JK up to 16th place after starting from the back of the pack. And there's a McLaren coming through as well. That would be Bo, I believe, onto Desert Pack. Desert Pack is struggling a little bit in that Audi at the moment. Bo on the inside line into the second chicane, which is usually the place you want to be, but Desert Pack is not giving up, holding it around the outside and defending that position beautifully there to keep her hold of 17th position in the race. Fantastic racing towards the back of the pack. The lower points positions, points being scored all the way down to P20, of course. Yamo has dropped a few positions. He's currently the guy holding P20, and we are now looking at Jardier, who has gained another place. Empower is now behind him, which means he has gained 2 positions from where he started, and he has Villalobos as his next target now, very close behind, so you'd expect him to maybe pick up a slipstream if he gets a good run through Parabolica, or he actually has to look behind in his mirrors a little bit as well, as Empower was thinking about the inside into Parabolica, but he as well is waiting for the main straight to pick up a slipstream, running very wide on the line out of Parabolica, trying to get a good exit. And here we go then. Will he be able to get close to Jardier, or will Jardier be able to get close to Villalobos? It's going to be a double slipstream for Empower, and you can see in that Mercedes that he is closing on the straight. Jardier closing slightly as well, but he's going to have to defend rather than attack. It's Jardier, and that is Empower locking him up the brakes and going too deep. It's going to cost him that battle. Luckily for him, there was a gap big enough behind him to Dabursky to keep hold of 5th at least, but that means he now has to look in his mirror rather than look ahead for a battle.
Yep, I'm wondering if that's the second time that Empower has done that, because whilst we were watching the battle at the back of the pack, I was looking at the leaderboard, and I did see that Empower had managed to get himself momentarily up into 3rd place, but must have made a mistake somewhere along the line, because yeah, he dropped back behind both Villalobos and Jardier into 5th. So all kinds of action both at the front, middle, and also at the back of the field in this race, providing us with fantastic racing entertainment. Oh, it looks like Jardier's got a better run than Villalobos coming off of the second Lesmo corner, coming down underneath the bridge of the old Oval Monza circuit, through that puddle that's formed there at the bottom, pulling under as Jardier is trying to go around the outside into the Ascari chicane. They're going to have to go side by side here. Villalobos may have to concede the position. There's a bit of door ramming between the two. Jardier has managed to muscle his way through, forcing Villalobos to back out of that. Empower has actually cashed in very nicely. on that and has got the run over Villalobos coming off the Ascari chicane. And Villalobos has now dropped down into 6th place after the little bit of door rubbing. He's going back down the inside though of Duberski into the parabolic of the final turn here. And it looks like Duberski is trying to switch back underneath. Isn't quite able to get the drive through the mid-corner. Instead is going to slot in behind and try and pick up the slipstream coming down this start-finish straight to begin lap 7.
Indeed, yeah. I think Villalobos' exit out of Ascari got completely hampered by Jadier. Giving him a little squeeze. I'm not sure Jadier intended to do that because it looks like he had a little wobble in the mid part of Ascari, which sort of put him out on a wider line that maybe he tried to be at. But that is what caused Villalobos to have that bad line. At least he managed to defend 5th, even if he lost 4th. And we are still having some side-by-side then. That is Murph with... ooh, that's Pantera and... Capo?
Good move.
Pantera going around the outside, yeah, fantastic stuff by him. That is on Murph actually, yeah, up to 12th place for Pantera in that Porsche, trying to get up to his teammates. Godfather Shift running in 9th. And Murph though, will he have the speed in that Mercedes to get back at him? Oh, look at this! It's been a change for the lead. Operator has managed to repass Dalking, but look how close he is. Dalking is not looking to stay behind for long, it would seem. Slightly better run, it looked like off the Lesmos. Coming side by side into Ascari through the puddle. And here we go then. Will the inside line or the outside line be the best here? It looks like Dalking is just braked a little bit earlier to allow Operator to have that inside line, and that means the Operator is back into the lead. Huge wiggle from Dalking. He needs to be aware of that. He has had huge problems in the past of making these little small mistakes that ultimately ends up costing him the win of the races. He's still looking for his first win in this league after a season plus 1 race, but he's certainly fighting hard for it here. Looking for that slipstream onto the main straight once again. That's where he made the move a few laps ago to take the lead. Now he wants to do it one more time. That spray, just trying to pick up as much, well, I was going to say trying to pick as much of that slipstream as possible, but of course he then moves out of the way a little bit to get out of the spray and make it easier to see the braking point. Looks like he's going to stay behind and remain patient a little bit for now. The gap down to Jadier in P3 is just over 2 seconds, which means they can't be battling too hard because that'll let Jadier back into the fight for the lead as well.
Yep, one thing that we're also starting to notice is a dry line is starting to form as the rain is easing, and do have a little bit of insider information that the drivers will probably be pitting somewhere between lap 9 and 12 if the track dries quickly enough to switch to the soft tyres, lug it out for a few laps, and then kind of in and around lap 20 or so the tyres start to come good with temperature, and a lot more grip actually starts to come from them. But obviously they need to be careful with the standing water around the circuit as Dalking catches the grass a little bit there on the exit of the second Lesmo.
Sorry to butt in, but there's actually a couple of cars in the pit lane already. Pantera and the Ripper.
Yes, very good point.
So that seems like a very early stop. Of course, you have to make a mandatory stop throughout the race, but with the weather report saying that the track's going to dry up, you'd expect them to make that stop whenever they need to switch from wet to dry tyres. And to me, this seems a little bit early, looking at that spray.
Yeah, I don't think the track is quite dry enough yet. The soft slicks aren't too bad in the wet, providing that the track is not too stupidly saturated and that there isn't too much standing water. But I will agree with you, as Dalking actually goes to dive on the pits.
Oh, as he nearly locks the rear brakes.
I do agree with you that I think that the track is probably a little bit too wet unless the guys can do a fantastic job and just manage to hold on. But yeah, Dalking making the first leap from the front runners into the pit lane to switch onto the slick tyres. And he's going to try and risk it for a chocolate biscuit and see if he can get himself up into P1.
Oh, seems like a relatively long stop this for Dalking. I don't know how long a tyre change usually takes.
16 odd seconds.
Okay. Here we go then. Dalking back underway. This will be crucial. Operator, of course, staying out for another lap. Who will make the correct strategy choice here? We got Benicil in the pits. We got CJP in the pits. We got ADAC in the pits as well. Capo in that Lamborghini also changing tyres at a Lexus. So there's quite a few cars coming in at the end of lap 8. And we just have to wait and see, really, who has made the correct choice.
Ooh, Dowking has got a 10-second penalty. So has Capo, and so has Adalexis. That is going to be a speeding in the pit lane penalty for those guys. So obviously, either they didn't quite get the car slowed down enough in the entry, or they released the pit limiter a little bit too soon upon the exit, being a little bit too eager to get underway. But the track looks like it's dried reasonably quickly. There is a drying line that is forming. You can see Dowking is hunting for that drying line to find the grip, find the grip.
Oh, the pedal on the inside, though. Yeah.
Yeah, where the track is still wet and there isn't really too much of a dry line. That's a little bit more difficult. The second Lesmo looks a little bit better there, but it all depends on where your other competitors are actually running, whether they're running pretty much the same line or whether they're differentiating. Operator, though, into the pit lane for his pit stop.
There we go. It's going to be crucial to see where he comes out relative to Dowking. Of course, Dowking has got a penalty now. I don't know if speeding penalties is something you can contest, as he was flying through the sky there. Just noticed that pretty much the entire top 5 or 6 drivers, except for Empower, have all jumped into the pits. Empower staying out for another lap. That could be good for him, but yeah, let's keep an eye on Dowking as he's coming through that final turn and see where he is in relation to the guys around him. Yep. It is Empower and a service to Dustback Yarmo, I believe, and Bo, who have stayed out. But here we go, a stream of cars coming through, and Dowking has jumped! Operator! Wow, so the decision to pit at the end of lap 8 seems to have paid off. The undercut has worked for Dowking, which means Operator has got a chasing job on his hands. Shame about the penalty, of course, for Dowking. Let's see, has anyone else picked up anything? No, it doesn't look like it. Only Capo, Alexis and Dowking with the penalties for pit lane shenanigans so far. But yeah, so in terms of the strategy, it certainly has worked out for Dowking. He's got about a second and a half on his teammate and rival. And of course the top 5 are the ones we are still waiting for to go into the pit lane, and you'd expect that to happen at the end of this lap because the track is visibly getting quite a bit drier, even though there is still a bit of spray being kicked up.
Yeah, the interesting thing now is the fact that Dowking he's been out and done 1 lap now on the slick tyres that he has. With that, he would have lost a lot of temperature, whereas the guys coming out the pits would come out with nice hot tyres. But Dowking has the advantage of actually having done a lap and got that experience underneath his belt. He knows what these conditions are going to be like better than the other guys, so he could be using that to his advantage to try and eke out a little bit of a gap, even though the guys behind him will have the slightly hotter and probably therefore the stickier tyres, although Operator there jumping onto the brakes, possibly picking up a slowdown penalty coming through Ascari.
See then, doesn't look like there's too much time. Let's see, to does it back into the pits. Dowking goes through to retake the lead then, as the top 5 have got in to change the tires. Empower, let's see how that's worked for him to stay out a lap longer. He is in 3rd, but here comes Jardier, goes past him just about. Is he going to be ahead of Villalobos? No, Empower has been jumped. Yeah, he has been jumped by Villalobos then. They were very close together beforehand. So it's not really cost him too much to stay out for that extra lap. I guess it was worth the gamble just to see. Hoping, of course, for the other guys to have pitted too early, but yeah, he's dropped 1 position, not too much time. So I suppose not the end of the world, and you can see now the spray has really stopped coming off the tires as well, except when they go off the dry line. So it's really time for dry tires now, which means the final 22 laps of this race is going to be done on slicks.
Yeah, it's interesting that the whole pit stop phase has just kind of spread the field out a little bit more than it had previously. Obviously, there was battles all over the track from the front to the back of the pack. It wasn't really easy to pick which battles that we need to keep an eye on, but now we've done the pit stops, the guys have been in, it spread the field out a little bit more. There's a few battles still scattered around, but there's not quite so many. You can see the driving line is getting wider, and as Fisi said, or as Dakusa gets a slight bit of aquaplaning, as he went through the puddle underneath the bridge, but held on to that quite nicely. It was quite a big puddle there on the inside.
What?
On the exit of the chicane. Not too sure why Dakusa backed out there. It didn't seem like to me that he ran wide anywhere to pick up a slowdown penalty.
No, I didn't see anything. So it's quite interesting there. Dakusa having some kind of problem, which means he's now going to be entering the main straight side by side with Godfather of Shift. He was running 9th before, so he's dropped 1 place through the pit stop phase as well as Godfather of Shift, but he's looking to gain that back as Empower. Oh, and the Birdski is looking to gain the position on him, but Empower is braking really late. Oh, and nearly forcing the Birdski to cut the corner, but he had to jump the inside curb a little bit, as the Dakusa is losing that position to Godfather Shift and not quite going side by side through the corner, but Godfather Shift's made a whole mess of the exit, which means that Dakusa is going to retain it, and Godfather Shift nearly spinning across the track. Luckily managed to save it from going into the grass again, but that is not the way he wanted that move to end.
Yeah, I think he just got on the throttle a little bit too early coming out the exit, but yeah, Empower. He's actually dropped back down behind the Birdski on the after the that battle. So either a potential mistake or Empower felt that he forced the Birdski off the road on the inside, which he kind of did a little bit. He did very much shut the door and kind of forced the Birdski to bounce over the curb. So that could be just a little bit of fair play there from Empower and giving up the position once again. But yeah, he's dropped off quite a bit off the back. He's kind of actually under a little bit of pressure from CJB, who's closing in the red Lamborghini behind him. And there you can see the top guys spread out a little bit more, and it seems like Operator is losing sight of Dow King a little bit. There you can see him, just that tiny little speck, those few pixels well off in the distance, 5 seconds just under further up the road.
Yeah, previously there was a big gap between 6th and 7th, and now the big gap towards the top anyway is between 4th and 5th, as the Birdski and Empower have lost a bit of ground on the lead 4 throughout that whole changing tyre phase. Looking now at JK, and behind him we got a 4-way scrap actually. That's a Bo in another McLaren. He's running 18th position. Still everything to fight for down here. Look at this though. Godfather Shift going for the move for P9 once again on Dakusa. This time he's actually made his stick. There was a little bit of touching once again, but he didn't lose the car at least on the exit this time, did Godfather Shift. So that is a job done. He's got a huge gap ahead of him of about 4.5 seconds to catch Benny Seeley. Let's see if he's got a pace. Godfather Shift, of course, a guy who has driven several seasons in this league in the past, and we know exactly what kind of speed he can show. He's had several podium finishes, as far as my memory is concerned. I'm not sure if it's completely accurate, as it's not always. But yeah, he's one guy that I'm used to seeing up towards the front of the pack anyway.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well here in the Porsche, and I think the Porsche would actually kind of suit these conditions quite nicely. Obviously, being a rear-engined car helps with the traction coming off the corners, which obviously would have helped in the wet, in these drier conditions, helped to some extent, but I think in the drier conditions the Mercedes SLS will probably fare a little bit better. Currently they're lurking behind him at the moment. I did also see CJB and Empower relatively close together, gap about half a second currently. And actually on the previous lap, Operator closed quite a significant amount on Dow King, a good 2 seconds in fact.
But he's still got 4.7 seconds to catch him, and Dow King's actually picked up another penalty for 1 further second, so that would be a part of the reason why his lap time previous time around was a bit slower. So Dow King is struggling with those penalties. He really needs to build his gap and avoid further penalties to have any chance of winning this race, because I don't know about you, Yoki, I've not been too involved in the stewards for the Project Cast leagues recently. Is the pit speeding penalties anything you can contest at all?
Nope.
Or are, nope, they're just set?
No.
So
no, it's you you have an opportunity to get your car slowed down sufficiently enough to avoid getting the penalty. If you get the penalty, then obviously you've done something wrong and therefore deserve it.
Fair enough. So that is the 11 now seconds that Dalking will have to deal with, and at least he knows that quite early on in the race, so he can just push like a maniac and try to extend that gap, which is halfway to doing actually already. Over 5 seconds now, the gap between Dalking and Operator. Although it's gone just back down to under 5 seconds, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. See if Dalking has the pace that he needs. CJB now is closing in on 6th place. Empower, who has been struggling a bit in recent laps, and actually the weather has changed significantly. Although there still is a little bit of wetness going inside on the inside of some corners. There is actually sun now out here at Monza. It's gone from a very rainy day where you could barely see anything to a very nice sunny day where it's almost time to go to the beach. Although on the inside of some corners there's almost a beach, as it is. Anyway, looking through some of the battles in the field, this is a potentially interesting one. Murph and Cryptic, who is not quite had the race he would have dreamt of after finishing in 5th place last week and challenging for a podium. He's now under pressure from Murph coming into the first corner in a battle for 11th place. Murph's going to go for that under braking, and Cryptic looks like he's backing out of it, so not too confident in fighting that. Maybe realizing that the Mercedes was a little bit too much for him to handle around the track like this. I don't think the McLaren is going to be as suited to the Monza circuit as what the Mercedes is. And that has clearly helped Murph to get that position for now. Now it's a 7-second gap that though he has to close down if he wants to get a top 10 finish. Further ahead of them we have the Kusa still holding onto the back of Godfather Shift, getting relatively close actually on the timings, and there you see why. Oh, but yeah, he's had to slow down, which means that gap is going to increase again. You can see that puddle under the bridge is still absolutely massive.
Is that Godfather Shift didn't manage to hold up. No, has he?
Whoa.
Maybe? Oh! He's been a little bit squirrely all the way through the Scary. That's what I was kind of worrying about, because he did look a little bit squirrely on the brakes and quite loose, chucking the car into the Ascari. He seemed to hold it for a bit, and then, yeah, upon the exit, was a little bit loose and sideways again. You can see, we'll keep an eye out for it next time they go around, but when they go underneath the bridge of the old Monza oval circuit on the run up to the Ascari chicane, the cars are starting to drag the water out of the puddle down at the bottom there, and it's kind of forming a bit more of a wet patch. And obviously with the tyres being wet, Godfather Shift goes for the inside move coming down towards turn 1. Who's giving him the room, but Godfather Shift not quite able to pull it off this time, so he'll slot back into that 10th place. But yeah, with those wet tyres going through that puddle, obviously makes things a little bit more slippery for the guys, but we'll try and keep an eye out for it this time round, as it looks like Villalobos, Johnny have had a coming together. I was going to say they were looking close on the timing screen. Careful, Villalobos, you don't back out too far, but that has put Jardier into the firing line of the Birdski Empower, and also CJB is there in and around the area, and Villalobos is actually under threat from Bernazili as they come down into this dip. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Nice example here. You can see that water being pulled up back up the hill a little bit up from that puddle.
Wow, some big drama then on lap 16 out of 33. That is Jardier and Villalobos. It's a shame we only caught the end of it. We saw them both spinning across the track out of the Lesmos, but yeah, they must have had some kind of issue there, which means that Jardier is very much under pressure. The Birdski's looking at a potential podium actually. Trying to remember where he finished last week. He was all the way down in 14th place actually, so challenging for the podium now. What a turnaround for him, and Jardier is going to slow onto the straight, it looked like, although he's maybe just taking a weird line, but yeah, that Mercedes, sorry, the Lamborghini and the Mercedes actually behind is going way faster down the straight. That is 2 positions lost for Jardier, and is he going to be 2 positions gained for Empower? He's going up the inside. Can he get it slowed down? No, he cannot. He's going over that massive sausage, which has slowed him down, and that Mercedes didn't like massive sausage, which means Jardier is back up into 4th place. But the Birdski up into the podium positions. Empower a little bit too optimistic. But you can't blame the guy for trying. Sometimes you just get a little bit overexcited when you got the opportunity to get 2 cars in one go.
Yeah, I think he was also saved a little bit by the sausage curb as well, because he was starting to lose the rear of the car, and then yeah, he caught that sausage curb and it kind of helped him to bring the car back into the line a little bit. But that has kind of given Dow King a bit of a get out of jail free card, because although he's got that 11-second penalty, he's now got a 17-second gap to Dubirsky in 3rd place. So it means that even if he does lose the lead to his teammate operator with that penalty, he should still hold on to 2nd place and not drop any further unless he makes a mistake. Hopefully, touch wood, no commentator's curse there for Dow King. But Jardier seeming to hold on to the back of Dubirsky. I don't think they've picked up too much damage. I can't really see any on Jardier's car, even though he was a little bit slow coming down the start-finish straight. But I don't know if he lifted for any particular reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it went so slow. Let's see if it's going to be the same this time around. It looks a little bit better. Yeah, it looks better now. Back to normal. So I'm not really sure why that was the case on the previous lap. But Jardier then is still very much in the fight after that incident with Villalobos. Be interesting to see if either of those join the commentary box for interviews after the race. We'll have to ask what on earth happened there. But for now, just have to focus on the battle, which Jardier has on his hands here. Dubirsky ahead of him, M-Power behind him. But we know Jardier, of course, most of all, he likes to fight for the win of the race, but he does love a battle in any case, and he's definitely got one on his hands now.
Yeah, he has. Just jumping back down the field to 18th position. We're riding on board with fan favourite Yamo just in front of him. Doesn't look like Bo is closing up though on the approach to turn 1, so he isn't going to be mounting a challenge into the first chicane here unless Yamo makes a mistake, which gets a little slight wiggle on the exit, but holds on to that quite nicely. So we'll jump back up to the battle for the final podium position for now, and it seems like all the guys are still running that same line through that puddle there, continuing on through the water and the spray, and there's a little bit more water just there on the left hand side as they come through the exit of the Scari chicane. But because it's the right hand side tyres, it doesn't really matter too much that the lefts are getting wet, and this is M-Power powering up alongside Jardier coming in towards the final turn. M-Power's going to have the inside line, is going to momentarily take 4th position away, but I don't think Jardier is going to quite give up yet, and I'm sure he is going to be trying to line himself up for a good exit and try and pick up the slipstream coming down this start-finish straight, but he doesn't seem to have the pace that M-Power has.
I do wonder if he actually does have a little bit of damage, perhaps.
Yeah,
this does not seem... The way he exited out of Ascari as well, how easy it was for M-Power to get past him. And the way he's not even gaining in the slipstream now, it seems like perhaps he's struggling with a straight line speed. Definitely caught him back in that corner though, as M-Power once again was a little bit too deep on the brakes. The Jardier does seem to be carrying a bit of an issue, which is not going to help him in this hunt for 3rd.
No, it's going to make things pretty difficult. You can see M-Power's previous lap was actually a 45.7 to Jardier's 46.5, so good 8/10 of a second there. Seems that Dubirsky a little bit loose on the exit of the 2nd chicane, but holds onto it quite nicely. All the guys filter through the first of the 2 Lesmos, coming into the 2nd now. Oh, Dubirsky goes and runs out wide. That's M-Power up into the podium position. Jardier now up into 4th place as Dubirsky, just a slight mistake there through that 2nd Lesmo, running out a little bit too wide, and yeah, getting caught out in the gravel. Obviously gone and lost 2 positions.
Yeah, the bunch behind actually is not too far off either. CJB is looking to get involved almost back there as well. But yeah, Dubirsky, unfortunate mistake for him. So M-Power now. Let's see, how many seconds is M-Power's penalty? Let's try and... 2 seconds, okay, interesting. And CJB's got 1 second. There's a few guys further down as well with 1 second. So that's something to keep in mind. M-Power does need to pull a bit of a gap if he wants his podium, but we know the Mercedes does have straight line speed. Whether he has the speed through the corners though remains to be seen. But Jardier is back up into 4th then. Every time it looks like Jardier might lose that position, he does find a way back in some way. Duberski though is going to be all over him once again. That's actually Empower, it seems once again is just dropping a bit of speed out of that first chicane. He's really struggling with that one. So that could be what is going to make it hard for him to build that 2-second gap that he needs.
Yeah, I think Empower could be just running a lot less wing downforce than some of the guys around him, and it probably won't exactly help him when he's trying to slow the car down, because we've seen him get a little bit loose a couple of times as he's heavy on the brakes and turning into the corner. But, seems to be managing those couple of turns just fine this time round. Jardier, he seems to be doing well to hide any damage, but yeah, it just, I don't know, at times it looks like he's fine, other times it looks like he is.
Yeah, but that's just Jardier being Jardier.
He's probably just messing with us. He's probably having fun. And I was actually thinking that. I was wondering if, with Jardier not being at the front quite so much this time, if he's enjoying it more this season than he was previously, or if he's finding it a little bit frustrating this time that he's not quite there at the very, very sharp end of the field.
Well, maybe a mix of both, but of course with his disconnection last week and coming into this race with 0 points, you'd expect him to maybe be a little bit frustrated that he's not quite up there at the moment. And once again struggling on the straight. Is Duberski going to go for it immediately? No, he backs out of it, didn't want to go for the dive there. And I have got word in the chat from UK Mod 123 that Jardier does indeed have some damage. He has got 6% on the front and 2% on the engine, which is why we're seeing his struggles in the straight line. He seems to be fine in the corners usually, but I think that's just Jardier kicking in terms of his driving. And then the car is not too much he can do about the straight line speed, unfortunately. Once again though, Duberski backing out of the move as CJB is being overtaken. Yeah, Benesili goes ahead in that bright yellow Mercedes. I haven't quite followed his pace, but we will see if he has the pace to close the gap on the guys ahead, while CJB wasn't really able to. Yeah,
CJB qualified outside the top 10 for this round. He's managed to obviously get himself up there into 7th place, so he's done well to work through the field. Obviously helped with some moments and collisions earlier between a couple of drivers, but seems to be putting in a solid performance. At the moment, he'll be looking to hold on to the back of Benesili, as Benesili seemed like he had the pace over CJB on the previous lap. Going to Jardier's damage, the engine damage that he has shouldn't impact his performance. It'll be the aero damage on the front that will be creating a little bit more drag than Jardier would like, and that would be the factor that is limiting his straight line performance. We bring up the speedo, looking at 265, and Jardier's just creeping up to 265 now. Obviously, slipstream for Duberski as well. It's obviously helping him along, but yeah, that front aero damage is not going to help, and neither is that slight slide in the traction zone coming off turn 2.
Well, maybe that's just evened out his battle a little bit. You'd normally expect Jardier to have a slight upper hand on Duberski based on, well, basically the first race and a half that we've seen. But Duberski has got that little straight line speed advantage, and it's worked for him there. Down into the second chicane, he makes a move once again. Nice and clean move up the inside. Nothing Jardier really could do to defend it. Such was the straight line speed difference. So it's down to Jardier now to try and keep up in the corners, but it's hard to see a way for him to get past really with less straight line speed, because he really depends on Duberski making an error in the corners to make the move.
Yeah, you can see that Empower in the foreground here has managed to pull out quite a substantial gap to Jardier and Duberski as well. Just crept over 2 seconds, so there's the performance loss there that Jardier is suffering from at the moment. It seems like in the very far background of the shot, you can see that CJB is holding on to the back of Benesili quite nicely. And you can see the difference currently sat around 0.3 of a second and closing in the braking zone for the Parabolica, but on the exit, imagine that gap will extend slightly as it does so. But yeah, CJB sitting quite happy in the slipstream at the moment of the Mercedes in front. At Alexis though, here is on the back of Capo, and then we also have Cryptic is there leading this 3-car train battle for 11th position.
There we go then. Are we going to see another 3 wide down the main straight potentially? It is looking good for it, considering the Mercedes is the car at the back of this. There's a little gap in the middle. Will he go for it? Yes, he will indeed. Yes. That is Capo down the middle. Capo in the Lamborghini. That is at Alexis down the middle and going for the inside line. Capo breaking very, very late. Slight touch at the back as well. But the Mercedes has started the straight at the back of the trio, has finished the straight at the front of the trio, and Cryptic has lost 2 positions in all of that. It's basically been switched around completely, the order they were in as they entered the main straight. There was a brief moment of 3 wide once again, as we saw several times in the early part of the race. So that's at Alexis then, who needs to push on. What Cryptic has, of course, on these guys is that he does not have a penalty, whereas the 2 guys he's battling do have. And I believe those guys both got a pit lane penalty, didn't they? So that would have been a 10-second.
Yes, they do.
So maybe Cryptic is not overly bothered about losing these positions, considering the gap to the car ahead as well is relatively big, so he just really needs to stay at the back of these guys to still finish in 11th place.
Yeah. Oh, very true. Sorry. Apologies for the
Come on, the battle wasn't that boring.
No, that's me just being tired. DJB. Oh, they're caught up to the back of Jardier. Jardier is seriously suffering in terms of performance. Benazili was having a little bit of a look, but then thought better of it. Coming into the turn 1-2 chicane here. Wait,
where's the Birdski gone?
The Birdski has 7th.
Oh.
In 7th place. Interesting.
That was not the case before.
No.
Something's happened.
Yeah, I'm starting to suspect the same, as that was Benazili and CJB getting very, very close under braking there. CJB just about managing to keep the front of his Lamborghini from making very close friends with Mercedes AMG in front of him. But yeah, the Empire is now obviously romped off away 5 seconds further up into the distance. There you can see just disappearing out of line of sight. And yeah, Dabursky now dropping down into 7th place with Jardier there now in 4th, and Benazili and CJB looking prime and ready to try and sneak their way past Jardier at some point, although I imagine Jardier will continue to fight and hold on to the positions that he possibly can where he can. You can see that Benazili was starting to line himself up with an overtake into the Parabolica, but then thought better of it and instead just used the straight line performance coming down the start finish straight to probably make it a relatively easy overtake coming into the first turn.
Yeah, it looks like that will indeed be the case, and Jardier is going to be close to losing 2 positions here in one go actually. I think CJB is going to back out of it. No, he's not! He's diving up that inside! Oh, last moment though, he smashes the brakes hard to the floor and decides it maybe wasn't such a great idea as Jardier started turning into the corner. But he will have another chance here. With Jardier carrying that damage, CJB gets the run. He's going to look to the inside, is he? Oh, there's a little bit of door banging as well. A little bit of squeezing going on there, not sure that was quite necessary, but that is the red Lamborghini going past the black Lamborghini, and Jardier is his day is going from bad to worse through no fault of his own really, because we didn't see what happened between him and Villalobos to cause that incident that gave him damage. But yeah, in terms of after that, at least there's nothing he can do about losing the positions that he's losing at the moment. So he's gonna. Well, we've got Birdski now 2.5 seconds behind him, and he's already been passed by him twice this race already. So let's see if that gap's going to be big enough for him. It's only 8 laps to go in the race. I say only, it's still going to be quite a bit of racing yet to happen in this race, I'm sure. Actually, I've been keeping... Actually, let's not go away from this battle just yet, because CJB is very close behind Benisili in a battle that is now for 4th place. Earlier on in the race, this was a battle for 7th or something. But it's worked out in their favour recently. Does CJB in the Lamborghini have the pace on the straight with a slipstream to challenge the Mercedes? It doesn't look too good for him unless he wants to go for an optimistic dive. Nope, the Mercedes is just too strong. Very different feeling for him from last lap, where it was just easily catching the other Lamborghini. The Mercedes would have it no such way.
Yeah, and also looking at the very top end of the field as well. Operator managed to get within 2.5 seconds of his teammate Dow King at the head of the field, so that gap there has shrunken down. Let's take a walk through the pack. So Villalobos is there reasonably close to Dubirsky, lurking in and around the second. Capo, making contact with the back of Adalexis, and that was Cryptip going into the back of Capo, which kind of added more pain to the front of his Lamborghini, and the rear of Adalexis is Mercedes, and that is Capo now dropping away from that 11th position fight and now down into 14th. That's very unfortunate there. I think Adalexis was starting to lose the car a little bit, and yeah, Capo went into the back, and then obviously Constantinaed with Cryptic going into the back of Capo.
Yeah, quite an unfortunate incident that, really. And Capo's the one that's come out worse from it, and especially with 10-second penalty as well. Now he's got several cars within 10 seconds behind him, all the way down to 18th potentially. He might be dropping. As it stands, 19th and 20th is not too much more than 10 seconds behind either. So he's gonna have to keep driving it as hard as he can, does Capo, to try and get as many positions as he can once he crosses the line. And Alexis still running in 12th place, hopefully no major damage to his Mercedes. Getting word from Scott in the chat that Jardier spun on his own accord, just as Villalobos. And unfortunately they hit after that. So yeah, 2 separate incidents that basically just turn into them touching, which is quite coincidental, I have to say. But yeah, unfortunate for both those guys.
Yeah, but even still, Jardier seems to be holding on to the back of CJB at the moment, as CJB is being pressurising Benazili a little bit. So not all the performance out of Jardier's Lamborghini has fallen away from him. He has still retained it, either that or he's absolutely driving the socks off the thing to stick with these guys.
I think he might well be driving the socks off it. Knowing Jardier.
It's quite impressive anyway. I imagine if there was contact between Villalobos and Jardier after they both had their spins, there could be more damage as well, seeing that Villalobos has dropped off quite a bit further off the back of the Birdski as well. As JK and Cryptic are very close in company. Cryptic has made a mistake somewhere along the line, because he's dropped behind Adalexis, who was previously in front, is now very much under pressure by the other McLaren that's there right underneath his rear wing, and having a look to the inside, coming into Ascari.
Well, he might not stay behind for long, and he isn't staying behind for long, is JK. Straight up the inside. Easy move for him. Let's see if Cryptic's got what it takes to challenge him back, but usually when we've been watching Cryptic so far, he's been losing positions rather than gaining them in terms of battles anyway. Doesn't seem overly confident in that McLaren at the moment. Still holding on to decent point position, of course, in 13th place, and might well be getting ahead of Alex and JK at the finish, of course, with them still having penalties ahead of him. And here, though, is another battle. Capo and Godfather Shift, who was previously in the top 10, but has had some struggles after that, is now trying to defend his 14th position with some damage to the front of his Porsche, it looks like. So that could be hampering his straight line speed as well. Capo pulling out with a slipstream down the inside into the first corner. Who's going to be the latest of the late breakers? And it does look like Capo is going to be it, and then he loses it on the inside. Bit too much power, I guess. Lost the traction midway through the chicane, which means Godfather Shift lives to fight another day in that particular fight. And to Desepak might be getting a free invite to join Capo as well now. You can see his Audi very close behind. And look at the front of the field again, Dalking and Operator. They are down to just over a second between them actually, so Operators really started closing down. Of course, we know that Dalking has penalty, which is going to put him down to second place anyway.
Empire does now as well.
Yeah, Empire's got 2 seconds. Luckily for him, yep, he's got a 5-second gap to Benicilli in 4th. So he's not going to be overly worried about that. Speaking of Benicilli, he's still got CJB for company, but once again, the Mercedes is too fast on the straights, even though CJB does a really good job of braking as late as humanly possible there, and he's very, very close coming out of the first chicane. Should potentially have it. I mean, if he doesn't get a run on this straight now, considering how close he was, he might struggle to get it at any point at the back of this Mercedes, and he's not really getting close enough. I mean, he's getting close enough to for Benicilli to feel like he has to go for the defensive line, but not really close enough to clearly go for a move.
Nope. Although both cars running a little bit deep there. Benicilli managing to hold on to it slightly better out through the exit than CJB. And also notice that Operator is now within that second window of Dalking, his teammate in front of him. Hopefully Dalking isn't suffering from any poor tyres or poor...
suffering from something, because Operator is closing very fast.
Yeah. Definitely. It doesn't look like there's damage on the front of Dalking's car, but Operator is in the prime position to take that lead away from him here on track. He's going to be looking to the inside, coming into the first chicane, and Dalking doesn't really put up any defense to that, doesn't fight it at all, and lets his teammate slide through into the lead. So Dalking now takes that second position with his 11-12 second penalty. 11 seconds he has, so it hasn't increased any further since we last looked, but he's got plenty of time to empower behind him, which is quite good. Although there is a little bit of traffic in the mix as well.
Indeed. So back to the battle for 4th place. CJB not quite as close as he was on the previous lap to Benicilli. CJB, of course, with a penalty as well, which is good for Jardier behind him, who's still able to keep up, so he just needs to stay close to CJB to gain back 5th place. Now on board with Jarmo, who is watching the back of a Porsche. Of course, Father of Shift, and then Capo and Desepak battling frantically. That's Desepak actually having gained 2 positions, hasn't he, since we last looked at these guys?
I believe so, yeah.
So here we go then. Desepak is under pressure because the Lamborghini has got a hell of a run, and that is he's losing their positions back immediately. Jarmo potentially going for a move on Godfather Shift just behind him as well. Several cars very close into the first corner to Desepak. Oh, and that is Capo going across the chicane, and he's surely going to have to slow down to give those positions back. And I mean, oh my goodness me, it's 3 wide briefly. Godfather Shift is all of a sudden challenging to Desepak as well. Jarmo trying to get involved, but it's a 2 wide block just ahead of him. There's nowhere Jarmo can go. That's Godfather Shift. Oh my goodness, no, don't go for that double dive, please. As Godfather Shift does get the position in the end onto Desepak. Absolutely crazy battling here for 13th. And Godfather Shift finally getting back some positions after having a few little struggles throughout this race. Still got damage at the front of his Porsche, but now he's ahead of this train. To Desepak, no, not giving up. Yeah. Totally enjoyed being in 13th. I would love to be in 13th a little bit longer. Here we go for the inside. Jarmo through the pedal as the spray suddenly kicks up. To Desepak to the inside, hits the apex nicely. Can he get the run out of the corner though? Yamos looking for any way to take advantage of what's going on ahead of him. But, oh, who's that going off in the background? That's Godfather Shift as well. And it's another, there's a yellow Lamborghini off the track. I think that might have been a Sterovic in 18th. But yeah, Godfather Shift did drop the position to Yamo and to Capo as well, which means Yamo is now suddenly in for a chance of passing to Desert Pack. This could be a really good few laps for the fan favourite. Desert Pack is already lining himself up for the inside defence as Yamo's going on the grass, and there is Capo trying to make it 3 wide into the braking zone. He's not quite close enough to make it, but Yamo on the outside of Desert Pack, who's hanging on in there in the Audi. And is it just me, or has that Audi lost his bonnet?
No, that isn't just you. I was going to ask you exactly the same
just
thing
noticed.
when we first picked up the battle. Yeah, I picked it up as soon as you saw straight away. But this is fantastic racing. 2 Desert Pack properly getting his elbows out there, getting very, very defensive. Did defend fairly, I'll say, although it was quite aggressive. But yeah, 2 Desert Pack is desperate to hold on to that 13th position.
Oh, bad exit.
4 or 5 cars behind him, but yeah, Capo's got the better exit over Yamo. Is going to have the inside coming into the first Lesmo. Yamo trying to hold it around the outside, not really quite working there. Godfather of Shift is going to be looking to the inside into the second Lesmo.
Oh, no!
Contact between the two.
Oh, that looked
Both
more...
of them staying onto the track though.
that looked more violent than it was.
Yeah, the two of them continuing to fight on, and we've got the Ripper also trying to jump him behind, as well as he's going to be looking to the inside. Yamo going defensive though, coming into this garage chicane, looking to the inside of Godfather Shift. Godfather Shift looks like he's managed to hold that around the outside though. Yamo tucking him behind for now, and the Ripper following on through as well. As it seems like there's 2 Desert Pack closed up onto the back of Cryptic up in front.
Yep.
Yep. So this is a 6-car train as Yamo's going down the inside of Godfather of Shift. Godfather of Shift has gone out way too wide there. Going to lose him the traction and the position to the Ripper, as Ripper is having a look at Yamo now as they come down the start-finish straight. It looks like 2 Desert Pack is going for the inside of Cryptic as well, and actually gets the move done before they get to the chicane. Comes across the nose in front of Cryptic and is going to slot himself up into 11th position now. It looks like someone else. I think we may have lost someone. Someone may have dropped connection. Hopefully it's not anyone.
Yeah, we're down to 21 cars, I should say, after starting with 23. So yeah, we seem to have lost someone. Gonna go down. There's no one in the top 6, no one in the top 7. But here we go, Yamo back on the attack again. Gonna be hard for him though, the outside into the second chicane as he nearly gets clattered by Godfather or Shift in the Porsche. Luckily, Godfather Shift, oh yeah, he's not too happy at the moment. Maybe he cut a corner slightly there as well, and has a slowdown. Through all of this, I have noticed that the Birdski has passed both the Jadier and CJB.
So he has.
And Jadier is also ahead of CJB, so he's still in 5th. Sorry, 6th is now.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of drivers shuffling around their positions. Let's jump back up to the front here because Capo has managed to get past Cryptic now. Seems like... Yeah, it looks like Cryptic's got a little bit of damage on the front of his McLaren, so that could be affecting his straight line performance. As we see, just going through the foreground was JK and his McLaren. Where's Bo? Bo's down in 19th place. As I remember, he was up and around fighting for positions earlier on. Fortunate for him. Let's have a go at this three-way fight. Johnny is now at the front of this pack. Guys, stop swapping around off camera. Like I said, schedule in your battles, please.
Well, here we go. It's the final lap I've just noticed as well. So the lead is going to be coming across the line, and in just a second, there we go, around the final corner. Operator wins, just ahead of his teammate Dalking. Even though Dalking does have penalties, but Operator does not. So he's going to win 2 out of 2 races this season. And look at this battle. Jodier's back down to 6th place behind the Birdski. Got Empower coming across there, yeah, in 3rd. Benicil is going to be finishing in 4th. The Birdski, though, this battle is far from over. Jadier having to defend from CJB, looking to the inside into Parabolica. The Birdski seems to be out of trouble at the moment. Can Jadier go for the slip back? The cutback. Does he have the power left in that Lamborghini? Doesn't seem like it, but of course he will move up into 6th place as a result, and 5th place even as a result of the Birdski and CJB both having penalties. Whew, that was some battle with the Lobos coming across just behind them in interesting fashion to take 8th position. Then we have Murph in 9th, and the final top 10 position is probably going to go to JK, but the gap between 9th and 10th was very large indeed.
Oh no, that's 2 Desert back hopping across the inside of the curb there. That could be a slowdown penalty for him, which could bring Capo into play. Coming into the final turn. Doesn't seem like he's quite close enough at the moment. Either 2 Desert Pack is going to suck up that penalty, or he's going to try and discard the time somewhere else the remainder of this lap. But JK coming across the line in 10th place. 2 Desert Pack will be coming across the line in 11th, with Capo very close behind in 12th.
Of course, Capo has that 10-second penalty, so he's going to be dropping down rapidly now. As the Ripper comes across to take 12th. Yamo goes up to 13th in the end.
And a whole bunch of other positions has chopped and changed as well.
Yeah, so let's see. So Yamo was 13th, Cryptic 14th, and Asterovich 15th, Godfather Shift in 16th. Capo dropped it all the way down to 17th after crossing the line in 12th. And then the Ace in 18th, Bo in 19th, Pantera in 20th, and the one guy missing out on points, unfortunately, will be Kovacs David, who had a unfortunate day in the car after his incidents at the first lap. And then we had 2 cars drop from the race, which I'm not quite sure who was. But once again, the man of the day is THR Operator. His 2nd win out of 2 possible this season. Dalking at least managed to get back to the podium. He was leading for a lot of race, but that 10-second penalty he got for speeding in the pits clearly hurt him quite a lot, and maybe took some of his motivation away as well to really defend that lead from Operator once it got close again. So Yoki, another really exciting race, I have to say. And I guess soon we shall be hearing from some of the drivers, hopefully, for some interviews.
Yep. We'll have to wait and see to see who appears in the commentary box and who we can have a chat to and hear the stories of their race. But yeah, that's
a great race.
It didn't really know where to look, to be honest. That was quite difficult being a director of that one, trying to jump up and back and forth down the field to try and pick out a battle to focus on and watch on, because there was just action from near enough start to finish and from top to bottom from all 21 to 23 of our drivers.
Yeah. Absolutely cracking stuff. Loads of great battles, and that is what we like to see, of course. We now have the top 2 in the ready for interview box, and I'm going to drag them across.
Dramatic.
Sorry about that, Operator. Casting you off once again. So we have the top 2 finishers in the race into the commentary box, and it is a 2nd consecutive win for Operator. How are you feeling after taking the win at the tight and twisted track at Brands Hatch, and then at a high-speed track at Monza just a week later?
Good, man. Yeah, that one threw a doozy, like the weather changes and everything. But yeah, it was hard to adapt to that.
Yeah, so man, you show now that you can handle the tight tracks. You can handle the high-speed tracks. Is there anything you can't handle?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll figure out. Like, I definitely have my weaker tracks, my stronger tracks, and to be honest, I picked the AMG for this track and Daytona, so yeah. We'll see at the tighter tracks in the rain.
Fair enough. Well, it's been a perfect start to the season for you, really. So, how confident are you that you can keep this up now throughout the final 8 rounds?
Some of the tracks I think I'll be pretty strong on. My goal this season, one of my main goals, was to win one of the American tracks, and we got one of those coming up. Because those are the tracks that I really enjoy. It's American tracks, being American myself. But yeah, we'll see if I can keep it up.
Yeah, we got 2 American tracks now on the bounce, I believe. So, yeah, fingers crossed for you that you can bring home another one there. And well done today, another win for you. Fantastic job.
Appreciate it, mate. Thanks.
Right then, we move on to Dalking. who was of course leading the race for a lot of the time. Unfortunately for you, it didn't quite work out. Tell us a bit about how the race was for you.
Yeah, no, another mistake, another error on my part. Double tapped the pit limiter button. Got a 10 second. Yeah, and then my race went with operator. Then it was just with third, you know, gyro and power. Yeah, I'm disappointed this one again. You know.
Yeah, well, at least you got a bit closer now. You know, at least you're back. At least you're back in the podium. So next step is to win. You know.
Yeah, I don't think it's never going to happen. Honestly, just give up.
No, just keep plugging away. You've been so close, and like Fizzy said, you got so close today with the win. Obviously, it's the slight mistake. It's
I
just got to keep.
Every time, though, you know.
Yeah, you just pretend you're not in the lead, and just like focus on closing the gap to the guy in last place in front of you.
Yeah. Oh well.
Top driver wise there from Yorkie. Yeah, at least you come second, so you're back in the podium once again. And yeah, as I said, next step is to win. So how confident are you for the next few races?
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely on pace. You know, I feel me and operator do a lot of practice together. You know, so we know where we're both at. So hopefully, without the mistakes, we can. If I can take it right to the end, you never know. I might get a few wins. So.
Yeah, would be cool to see you guys keeping the battles going throughout the whole season. Yeah, fantastic start from you guys. You clearly seem to have a bit of an edge on the rest of the field in the first couple of races, at least on pace. So good job from you as well on the second place. And,
yeah, cheers.
Yeah, hopefully slightly better luck in next week. So that is going to be it. There doesn't seem to be anyone else who wants to join us at the moment. So. Yeah, I think Yorkie, that just have to say what a fantastic race, and leave it at that.
Yeah, it was very good. Thoroughly enjoyed it, as always, being here in the commentary box with yourself. So thanks once again for having me, and thanks to the drivers for providing some fantastic action, and then thanks also to all those in the chat who have watched the race and supported us here at the AOR channel. So always very much appreciated, and it's good to see you guys showing up week in, week out. And yeah, I don't really have much more to say other than that.
Fair enough. Couldn't have said it any better. So, cheers all for watching. We're gonna end it there. Hope you join us next week as well. I'm gonna quickly check what track we're at. Let's bring up the calendar. Long Beach. Oh my goodness, that's gonna be an interesting one. We're going to America for a street track in 1 week's time, so make sure you don't miss that one. Yeah, see you there, and good night.